Hey there and welcome to Get Indie Gaming. With 2019 looking likely to be another first-rate year for indie games, here's our rundown of the top 25 indie titles expected out during the year we're most excited to play. Presented in no real order, first up from the creators of Abzu, the Pathless is a mythic adventure game where you become a hunter within a mythical island, where you're tasked with dispelling a curse of darkness that grips the world. With your eagle companion, you'll explore misty forests, solve puzzles in ancient ruins, and fight epic battles. From the developers behind Death Squared, Moving Out will come to the PC and consoles and could be the couch co-op game to topple Overcooked from the top of our go-to pile. With over 50 levels, this physics-based moving simulator will feature local and online leaderboards, a single-player campaign, and the chance to work in a number of wild and precarious environments. Born out of a successful Kickstarter in 2014, Jenny Leclue is a brilliant young detective within a sleek and beautiful hand-drawn art style, with a story within a story where the narrator, somebody called Arthur K. Finkelstein, acts as your guide. The game will address issues such as family and loss and comes inspired by horror, sci-fi and mystery games. Reminding us for right or wrong of Snipper Clips, A Fold Apart is a 3D puzzle game looking to explore the emotional struggles of a long-distance relationship, and it does all this via folding pieces of paper the characters inhabit. With over 50 levels, this origami-inspired puzzler lands on February 14th, Valentine's Day, because of course it does. Our number 5, a side project from two members of the team behind No Man's Sky and Joe Danger, The Last Campfire is being called a Hello Games short. Very much like the Pixar short films, it's been designed to generate creativity and content from new voices within their studio. Set in a beautiful looking wilderness with strange creatures, The Last Campfire has a wholesome, journey-like vibe and should come out at some point in 2019. Campo Santo's follow-up to Firewatch looks likely to offer a single-player first-person adventure set in 1920s Egypt. Initially expected on PC, players will take on the role of an explorer and filmmaker, all within a remote and ancient valley in the Egyptian desert. The trailer, with its handsome character animation and playful focus on differing light sources, this suggests a keen eye for detail, and if it's anything like Firewatch, we'll be expecting a clever and well-developed narrative with hopefully a more fulfilling ending. Okay, hold on to your eyeballs. Up now in all its hyper-violent, colour-drenched and speckled goodness, Ape Out launches 7th February on the PC and Switch. With an unmistakable Hotline Miami stylings and accompanying dynamic soundtrack, this smash 'em up is already on our list as one of the most promising indie games to drop on the Switch over the course of the year. And while we're discussing good-looking and slightly violent games coming out on the Switch, here's My Friend Pedro, a 2D side-scrolling bullet hell game with platforming elements, which uses a bullet time feature as key to the action. The character animations are almost ballet-like in their movements, and with a split-aim approach to the shooting, this could turn out to be all rather astonishing. My Friend Pedro is expected in 2019 on the PC and of course the Switch. Next up, we have something completely different. Given its name, Supermarket Shriek immediately has us in mind of Dale Winton, a reference lost on anybody outside of the UK, and with it comes a shopping trolley racing game within shops, luxury boutiques, and funnily enough, the odd supermarket. This looks utterly properly good fun, and with the option to play in co-op mode with dual microphones, it's likely to be one that'll amuse you and annoy your neighbours in equal measure. The 10th game in this rundown, Tick Tock, A Tale for Two, is a cross-platform game for two players that uses escape room-like dynamics where cooperation is the key. This reminds us of Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, so we're sure to get well into this when it comes out in the first quarter. Coming out January 15th as a PlayStation 4 exclusive, Vayne was first revealed in 2014 and features a low-poly style with snappy animations and a shrewd-looking distinctive lighting. The developers have said Vayne focuses on mood and atmosphere over more controversial mechanics. It follows the story of a child able to transform into a bird, all amongst desert landscapes and ruins. The Journey and Ico comparisons are easy but justified, and as fans of both, we're expectant to see what Vayne will deliver early in the year. Perhaps a long shot for popping out in 2019 on the PC and Xbox, The Last Night is touted by the developers as a cinematic platformer, all in the vein of Another World, although given it's said to lack a jump mechanic, that genre label already feels slightly misplaced. With a questionable, although disavowed, development backstory, this dazzling neon-soaked art direction and setting the developers insist is not cyberpunk, well, The Last Night is liable to see as many detractors as proponents. Blasphemer is a combat-focused 2D animated platform game with some fine-looking, if a little gory, hand-painted pixel art. It seems fairly open-ended, with players being able to engage in narrative aspects or simply run around hacking and slashing enemies to pieces. Should be fun either way. Up next, and the last of the pixel art games to feature in our 2019 preview, Backbone looks ready to give an overall cinematic adventure with action and stealth elements. All this within a film noir-style dystopian fiction. You'll play as a detective, so you'll be collecting evidence, interrogating witnesses with no hand-holding. It's up to you to find which route to follow. The character style environments look a real treat, each being animated frame by frame, while also featuring landmarks from the beautiful city of Vancouver. Backbone will be out in 2019 on PC and all the usual consoles. The 15th game in the countdown, Necro Barista, is an interactive novel set within an enchanted cafe in Melbourne, Australia. Here the dead are able to spend one last night alongside the living. With its film and anime inspirations, the story unfolds by way of a series of vignettes within a main storyline that takes place over the course of a single night. The 3D nature of Necro Barista sets it aside from others in this sphere, and from the classy dialogue we've seen thus far, it could be one of the hidden gems for 2019. Lost Words is a story-driven puzzle platformer where your character's words become platforms to stand on, jump from, run over and fall through. It's said to be packed with a strong emotional narrative around a girl coping with the illness of her grandmother. All in, we think it looks rather unusual and pretty cool, particularly the way you interact with your words to solve the puzzles. It's coming to the PC and Xbox. Like the recent Mario, Lost Ember takes its premise from the notion you're able to control different animals such as birds, wolves, and use their abilities to reach different areas, so on and so forth. From the previews we've seen at EGX Rezzed, Lost Ember looks like it's going for an exploration theme, and since it took home the 2018 Indie Award at Gamescom, that's one fairly decent recommendation right there. Lost Ember will be coming to the PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox this spring, with a Switch port to follow sometime thereafter. Set in the near future in the South China Sea, Beyond Blue sees you stepping into the flippers of a marine biologist, where you explore the ocean with Abzu-like swimming mechanics, where you observe the sea life and unravel a strange mystery set amongst a multi-branching storyline. Beyond Blue is made in collaboration with the BBC and the Blue Planet documentary makers. While steeped in a remit around biology education, from the demos we've seen so far, there's no reason to think this couldn't be as every bit fun to play, as interesting to learn from. Disco Elysium has you playing an alcoholic, disgraced former detective on the hunt to solve a murder. In terms of isometric RPGs, this could very much be a game changer. Aside from its visuals and sounds, the game adapts to how you play and changes the narrative accordingly. From what we've seen, the story is incredibly written and in places superbly funny, again with it all being determined by the choices you make in the game and from your character's base level stats when you set off. There's something of a Game of the Year 2019 about this one, and honest to goodness, we can't wait to see how it turns out. Sea of Solitude starts the last 5 of the indie games in this preview, and this was the game that stole the show at EA's E3 2018 press event. It's the story of a young woman called Kay, who seems to be suffering from extreme loneliness and in doing so turns into a monster. The game looks likely to be a third-person platform exploration puzzle type of experience, and we're thinking it's going to be about bringing Kay back from the brink to restore her humanity. From developers having worked on such games as Borderlands 2 and the sequel to Bioshock, A New the Distant Light is a single-player open-world action-adventure game for PC and consoles with the emphasis on platforming, combat, exploration and visual storytelling. There's also the awesome and small matter of having to go about trying to save a dying planet Earth. It all looks pretty cool and should offer somewhere in the region of 40 hours of leisurely gameplay. From the makers of Oxenfree, After Party will see newly dead Milo and Lola on a pub crawl with Satan himself, where they're taking him on in a drinking competition to try and win back their souls and get returned back to life. Following the reveal, the devs have noted After Party will have branching story options with quests, side activities, and will come with dynamic dialogue. Being published by Finji, who have a wonderful track record of indie game success stories, Tunic is from a one-person team and features an adorable looking little fox, all inspired from the SNES era Zelda games. You'll join this little fluffy thing on a dangerous and mysterious open adventure amongst spooky ruins and a giant wilderness. While cute to look at, the combat seems to offer something requiring careful planning and decision making, and we're hoping Tunic will deliver a knockout when it hits next year on the Xbox and PC. Announced back in the summer of 2018, Ori and the Will of the Wisps will launch onto the PC and Xbox at some point in 2019. While its predecessor was mostly based on a Metroidvania, this sequel is said to take and add to the mix from another inspiration, this being Dark Souls. While this had us scratching our head and wondering how it would fit together, the influence is mainly poured into Ori's abilities and weaponry. The developers have gone at length on record to say it's still very much an exploratory action platformer that has a few twists here and there, with everything players loved about the original coming back for the sequel. Perhaps naturally we're curious and interested to see how this all pans out. The last of our 2019 preview video, Untitled Goose Game, sees you play as a foul and horrible, downright nasty goose that's due to come to the PC and Switch at some point in the year, drawing huge queues at EGX and pretty much everywhere else it gets exhibited. It looks a fun mixture of sandbox and stealth, with it seemingly being delightfully silly and, unlike geese themselves, simply oozes charm and charisma. So that's it from our Indie Games to Watch video for 2019. If there's anything you like, please let us know down in those comments, and if you could also hit the like button, that would be awesome too. If you don't want to miss out on other indie games, then why not subscribe? It's really easy, just hit that button and now would be a perfect time to join this small but growing indie game community. Once again, many thanks for watching, see you here again soon for more videos.